Yo guys, hope you're having a great day. Today I bring you a new video about my game against Mr.378 from the Indie Scooters. I once again had to change my tier, and this time the game will be in GSC OU. Things didn't... well, we decided to make more adjustments to the team lineup, and that's why I've been slotted in this tier. So yeah, hope you guys will enjoy this game, and let's move to the team building. Alright, let's get started on the team building. And before I get to talk about the team, I will talk briefly about GSC OU as a tier and my thoughts on it. So first off, I think GSC OU is the best OU tier to play, to be fair. It's incredibly balanced, nothing is outpowered, and it really rewards the player for making a solid game plan, sticking to it, and progressing your game state as the game flows. So yeah, I really recommend it to everyone who is looking for something that isn't too fast paced and that rewards game planning and game plan making. So yeah, I really like this tier. So I was pretty glad I got to play it in SPL. The thing is, it's really not one of the tier I have played a lot. In fact, it's probably one of the OU gen I have played the least, and it was my first game in this tier in an official team tournament settings. So don't expect anything too crazy from the teams that I'll bring. It's mostly gonna be standard. I just wanted to bring something I am confident with. Also, at this point of the tournament, the SPL, we had to win every week. Well, there were only 2 left, but we had to win both, so I wasn't gonna risk it. Also, for those of you who are unfamiliar with GSC, much like ADV in the past video, I'll link a page on McMeghan that has been made in the smog back in the days to get you introduced to it. So yeah, regarding the team, as you can see from the above Pokemon, and if you're a bit familiar with GSC, you'll notice that it's pretty offensive, and that's because I was actually considering using something defensive, a bit stylish, but I tested it. I tested different style teams with ABR. Shout out to him, by the way. And I expected to face offense against Mr. Numbers. So I asked ABR to load up some offenses, and when I was playing with defense, I didn't like how the games would play. Like I knew how to win with the teams, and it just didn't give me the sentiment of security that I expected from them when I played them. So at the end, I just went with something I was more comfortable with. In this case, offense. So yeah, let's talk about the team. I didn't make anything new for this game. I just brought a team that I had made with Isa for my Smogon Classic runs 2 years ago. It's a team centered around Machamp, very solid threat in GSC, and that's because a lot of Pokemons are weak to Fighting Stab. Namely, especially when you think that every team runs a Snorlax, and almost all of them run a Cloyster. And since a lot of people also like to run Tyranitar, that's already 3 weakness just from Machamp Stab. So a very solid Pokemon, and that's why I went with it back then. And yeah, I went with it for this game too. So let's talk about it. First off, Nidoking, very solid Mix Sweeper. I really like it in offense, and I like ground Pokemon in general in offense because it gives you something to switch into electric move, from Zapdos mostly. So you force it into mind games. You can pivot into your ground when you expect Thunder, and then you can go Snorlax on the Idle Power Ice to take minimal damage from it, and that's return it out. When you don't have a ground, you pretty much have to take very powerful Thunders, and that's something I dislike. So yeah, I recommend ground types in GSC. But the moveset didn't go with Lovely Kiss, went with Counter instead. For those of you who don't know, Counter in GSC double the damage from all Idle Power, even if they're special. And in this team, it's made to put Zapdos out of commission. Especially as you can see, even if Nidoking can switch into HPI. The team like kind of suffer against Zapdos, Machamp being checked by it. So if I can remove it from the game early, it's really beneficial for the end strategy of this team. Then we have Zapdos, very common Pokemon in GSC, second best in the tier, I'd say, behind Snorlax. Nothing too crazy about it. I went with it because it also brings an EQ immunity, which I wouldn't have with Raikou otherwise. Then Cloyster, classic Cloyster, bringing spikes to the team. Went with a standard Surf Toxic Explosion. As you can see, Curse, Earthquake, Snorlax can be checked by my team, but it will manage to damage Tyrant on the way. So I don't want it to rack up curses for free, like if I was running HP Electric, so that's why Toxic is more beneficial here, in my opinion. Next up, Tyranitar. It's my Cursolax check. It's a normal resist. I was talking with BKC about that. Normal resist are incredibly needed. Not needed, but very useful in GSC. Because not only is it useful to tank on Snorlax, which is in every team, but since a lot of Pokemon run Explosion and it's the most threatening move in ADV, GSC, sorry, still used to the tier from last week, you want something to switch on Explosion. Really, that's why a Ghost type or a normal resist is always welcomed. The set is fairly standard as well. I run Pursuit because Ghost type can be annoying for Machamp, and as you'll see in a second, Snorlax is mono attacking, mono stab, so Pursuit is needed to remove the Ghost for it. Fire Blast for Skarmory for a Dress, Rock Slide for the stab, hit Zapdos too, nothing too crazy. Next up, Snorlax. With a lovely Kiss set, I put the sleep move on Snorlax and Nidoking. The reason why is that one of annoying check for Machamp is Skarmory, since I don't run a fire move. And if you can put it to sleep with Cursolax, it's really great for both Cursolax and Machamp, so it synergizes well. If you also get to sleep a Raw Suicune, that's a good trade. That's the two main targets you want to put to sleep with Lovely Kiss. Even if it's not with Machamp in mind, Lovely Kiss is just really good in general on Snorlax because you just bypass the check by putting them to sleep. And very threatening set as a standalone. Doesn't need too much support to sweep itself, thanks to Lovely Kiss and Curse. And finally, Machamp, nothing too crazy about it either. Standard set with Curse. When I originally made this team, I ran Discoverage of Cross Chop, Rock Slide, and HP Ghost. Honestly, the last move, in this case HP Ghost, is really up for grab in my opinion. You can run whatever you want according to your preferences and what you expect from your opponent. For example, for my game against Mr. Numbers, I actually run HP Bug because I noticed that he ran Executor pretty much all the time. And even if I had Pursuit, Tyranitar, and Zapdos, I decided HP Bug would be more useful. But yeah, you can run Fire Blast for Skarmory, Earthquake for Gengar. Mostly those two. I would recommend to keep Rock Slide though, because it's not guaranteed that you'll manage to remove the Zapdos with Skuncher and Docking, and you don't want to get walled by Zapdos, which is way too common. And if you can pressure it with Machamp, go for it. So yeah, I decided to go with that, and we'll move to the game now. Alright, time to watch the game and talk about it. Much like in ADV, there is no team preview in GSC, as it was introduced in black and white. Going into the game against Mr.378 numbers, I was expecting offense, revolving around the core of Executor, Zapdos, Snorlax, Cloyster +2, as that's what he used the most in the SPL before this battle. I lead Nidoking, he leads Executor, exactly what I was expecting. Well, not Executor lead, but the fact that he has Executor lead pretty much tells me that he's running his usual offensive core, so pretty glad about the choice I made about Machamp, that I just mentioned in the Teambuilding part. I have HP Bug on Machamp, can be useful as he brought Executor. Anyway, lead Nidoking against lead Egg. I do not have Lovely Kiss, so I have no business staying in. Well, Technically, the executor is likely to switch out anyway, since he doesn't want to hit Lovely Kiss, especially if he has no Zapdos in the back to absorb it. I go to Zapdos myself, pretty safe against executor early game especially. He switched to Zapdos himself. He was probably expecting Lovely Kiss, so he wanted to absorb it. I went with Zapdos myself because just in case for some reason he stayed in, it felt good. Zapdos Ditto, I decide to throw in a Thunder. I don't have any great switch to it, especially in this position because it can HP Ice, so it would damage the Nidoking, and I don't want to get my Snorlax on the field yet. So I just throw a Thunder, just in case I get a Paralysis or something like that. I could rest later anyway. I decided to go for it. Instead, it doesn't it doesn't stay in, and it goes Snorlax directly. I get some damages on it. Pretty nothing too special. I directly goes Cloyster. I wasn't too sure about this move when I played because I was afraid of a hard Lovely Kiss. But like, I would have been very annoyed if he used Lovely Kiss because Cloyster sleeping before it gets to put the spikes up is very annoying. Not only would I lose the spikes, but I would also lose the explosion. The thing is, even if he had Lovely Kiss, most Snorlax wouldn't throw it right away because you usually want to get a good target out of it, and especially in this scenario where it was against Zapdos. If I decided to stay in to get some more damages from Thunder, wasting your Lovely Kiss on Zapdos would be pretty bad because they're on Sleep Talk. So yeah, there was definitely even less chances for him to use it. That's why it confronted me in my decision to send Cloyster. I want to get my spikes up, so I go Cloyster. No Paralysis, always useful for the explosion later in the game. I get my spikes up as he goes Zapdos, and he goes back to Zapdos. As I explained in the team building, Zapdos is kind of annoying to switch into, but I really want to remove it with Kuncha Nidoking. It would be very good early on, and it would remove one of the best check to Machamp from his team, most likely. Like, I don't know what else he's gonna run, but in offenses, Zapdos is usually your main Machamp check. So if I can remove it early, I'm gonna do it. So I go Nidoking. I'm expecting Thunder anyway. It feels pretty safe. Also, I was when I first used this team in Classic 2 years ago, I was in this exact scenario early game, like very much the same. And I decided to, at the time, because I remember I got the Zapdos early, and I had a feeling it would work again, and we'll see. So I go Nidoking with Thunder. He goes HP Ice. He doesn't have anything much to fear from Nidoking, especially as it's full life. So I throw an Ice Beam as he HP Ice. Either at a very comfortable percentage, because he won the dive from Ice Beam, and if he gets another HP Ice, I will be in HP Ice range. So for him, I expect him to stay in and to use HP Ice again. I also used Ice Beam on the first time and not Kuncha directly because I need some damages. I need to weaken it a bit before putting it in KO range from Kuncha. I don't want to waste Kuncha as I don't KO him, because then he's gonna be very cautious with his HP Ice. So when I have to use it, it's gonna be a one-time move. I have to use it and kill it with it directly. I can really afford to show it on the Switch too. So in this position, I think it's the right time to use Kuncha, because he's in a very comfortable position to use it. And guess what happens? He uses Iron Power, I use Kuncha, and I kill Zapdos on turn 7 while still keeping Nidoking. Very, very glad with those plays, very satisfied with my early game position at this point. Zapdos out means Machamp is probably gonna do work. He switches in Gengar. And kind of annoying to face Gengar in the sense that it checks Machamp and it checks Snorlax. But no, not too much of a big deal, because I have Pursuit Tyranitar anyway to remove it. Something to see, as he switches in on spikes, it doesn't get leftovers back, which means it's Thief Gengar. So that's already one move known about it, and That's pretty useful information because Gengar is very good in GSC thanks to its large move pool. So I already know it's gonna be Thief. I directly go Snorlax. I don't remember exactly why. I directly went Snorlax, but it worked out, I guess. Honestly, I don't remember why. Anyway, now I go Zapdos because what I remember though is that I didn't notice the lack of leftovers right away. I noticed it as I switched in Snorlax. Anyway, now that I realize he has no leftovers, I expect him to use Thief. And I go Zapdos because Zapdos is my only Pokemon, well, with Snorlax, but Zapdos is my only Pokemon with sleep, with rest and sleep talk, which means it can heal easily and still be a threat while asleep. Which is why I don't mind losing the leftovers. I would mind more on Snorlax because Snorlax sleeping can invite Pokemons in, unlike Zapdos. Anyway, yeah, he uses Thief, no problem. So here I went Tyranitar because since the Gengar run Thief, I don't really expect him to run Hypnosis alongside it or D-Punch. In fact, I was expecting the Gengar to run Bolt Beam coverage with Thief and Explosion, because I think Explosion is a bit too good to pass up on Gengar in GSC. So I wasn't really fearing Dynamic Punch, and that's why I went Tyranitar, because I also wanted, not only do I not fear much from Gengar, but I also want to pursue it for my Snorlax, which is looking good. Which is looking actually better and better as the game progresses. That's when he double switches and reveals Raikou. I wasn't really expecting double electric from him. I think that's one of the first time he brought it. Anyway, kind of annoying because it counters Zapdos, but I know at this point, like, I don't know what his last gonna be, but I doubt it's gonna be Skarmory. And if I remove Gengar, my Snorlax is really looking good. Raikou won't check it. Executor has to use Explosion, and I can just put to sleep his own Snorlax to pressure it with mine. So I get Tyranitar on Raikou, and without Earthquake I don't really like Staining, because Rock Slide is only a 3KO, or I'm not even sure if it's a 3KO, and Thunder does a lot of damages, especially since I don't have recovery. I don't want to risk a paralysis either, so I decide it's time to switch out. And since he's against a Tyranitar, you know? So, yeah, never mind. I just go... I thought I went Nidoking, but I just went Snorlax first. Anyway, I had Snorlax against Raikou. Raikou doesn't like this matchup, especially since he missed Thunder. I don't even get pressured on my Snorlax. And I decide to use Lovely Kiss because if he has a Snorlax checked, he's gonna send it now. Raikou wasn't staying in. If I can put Snorlax to sleep, that's good. Executor too, because I removed a boom out of the game. If he shows his last to be a Snorlax check, I put it to sleep. And Gengar sleeping is fine, because if I pursue it, I get another sleep letter. Also, now that I think about it, yeah, the kind of team is running always have a Spiker. And it's usually Cloyster, so it was probably gonna show it anyway. And that's why I decided to use Lovely Kiss, because since I'm expecting the Cloyster switch, now that I remember, now that I think about it, it makes sense. Since I'm expecting a Cloyster switch, it's really good to put it to sleep, because if it hits, I get to prevent spikes going on my side, and preventing spikes is really big in GSC, because no entry result means you are very safe in your doubles. Like, when you get a double right, you get 3 leftovers, 3 Earth bags. That's pretty big in my opinion. So anyway, he goes Cloyster, and I put it to sleep. He doesn't know my full moveset. It could be anything from Rest Curse to 3 attacks move anyway, whatever. So I just fire off Double Edge to show what is, to kind of see what is answer to his hit, and not to mention at this point he doesn't have any good Double Edge switching anyway. Snorlax takes a good chunk, Executor too. Obviously Gengar would take nothing, but he has to fear my Snorlax being Earthquake, or so it's not even safe either. Not like Snorlax, Gengar can do much to Snorlax anyway besides booming. I get a crit too, pretty useful, I guess, although he's sleeping, so I don't think it's too big of a deal. I take it though, because I can actually pursue it later for the kill. And it has even, it wants even less to stay on Snorlax in an attempt to wake up from the lovely kiss. So this time he goes Gengar. And I double switch to Zapdos because just in case he would stay in, I didn't want him to boom on Snorlax because it looked really great in this at this point of the game. I just need to pursue the Gengar and I can go to town with Snorlax. So I don't want to risk losing it to boom, and I go to Zapdos instead. Because if it doesn't wake up, I have Zapdos in front of Cloyster and I force a switch to Raikou. Anyway, it doubles to Gengar instead. Once again, not a really good matchup for Gengar. While Ice Punch does a load, I have Rest anyway, and Thunder would do a truckload. As I said earlier though, I want to remove Gengar for the game, and I go Tyranitar. Because I think my Tyranitar checks Gengar at this point. As I mentioned earlier, it probably doesn't have a Diamond Punch. He goes Raikou, we're in the same situation from earlier, Tyranitar Raikou, and once again, I don't like my odds. I don't want to Rock Slide it as it thunders me, because I value Tyranitar's health and lack of status. I don't want it paralyzed, especially to do like 33 for Rock Slide, not worth it in my opinion. It thunders again, and I decide to switch Nidoking and not Snorlax this time. And the reason why? Well, I expect Thunder anyway. It's probably not gonna HP Ice in the face of Tyranitar. And I go Nidoking because by going Thunder, I get some leftovers back, and what I want is the Nidoking to be out of HP Ice range from Raikou. Well, we haven't seen HP Ice yet, but if it is, I want it to be out of range. It can be useful later. Also, by going by pivoting on Snorlax like I did, I get to switch Snorlax on a HP Ice and not Thunder, which means, well, first off, I get less damages on Snorlax, but I also don't risk a paralysis. Now I force out the... Since I have a Snorlax against Raikou, like, he needs Raikou at this point. If you look at his team, he is weak to Zapdos. He's mainly weak to Zapdos and even Tyranitar. So he probably needs to Raikou LC, and he's then gonna stay in the front of a Double Edge. So I decide to, since I'm expecting, like I said earlier, his only check to Double Edge is Gengar, so I'm expecting a double. I'm expecting a switch, and I double to Tyranitar, because he needs the Raikou, so he's gonna switch out, and I can get to trap the Gengar this way. So with the double, I have Tyranitar in front of Gengar, and it's time to pursue it. He switches out and pursues to the nice 67. Gengar is almost in kill range from Spike, not quite though, but it's almost in kill range. And once Gengar is dead, I very much like my odds both for Machamp, but both for Snorlax, but for Machamp too. I don't think I have mentioned it so far, but once Gengar is out of commission, Machamp is looking amazing. HP Bug kills Executor, well it's a speed type, but it's worth going for, and Psychic won't kill at full anyway. Machamp is weak to Crush Up, Cloyster is already in a kill range from Crush Up and it's sleeping, and Raikou doesn't like Crush Up either, and it has to eat Thunders. And at this point, with the pursuit, Gengar is already in Rock Slide range too. So yeah, both Snorlax and Machamp are looking good at this point. He switched in his Gengar to Snorlax on a Tyranitar. Pretty weird decision in my opinion. It probably has something for it. It's gonna be a Lovely Kiss or Earthquake. So I see. Since the Gengar is almost dead, I think I can play a bit more recklessly with Tyranitar. I don't really need the pursuit anymore. So I just Rock Slide to weaken the Snorlax, and he shows Curse. And the Snorlax is already at 56. And the thing is, at this house, like, it probably gonna need to rest soon, especially with Spikes up. So I just roar right away, just in case he would rest, because if he rests, he has to burn two sleep turn later in the game, which means I can switch on the Snorlax pretty safely and abuse it. And if he's a Crow Snorlax anyway, if he's with sleep turn, I know my Tyranitar will check it comfortably. So I don't mind roaring. Also, if I get Gengar on the roar, I can remove it from the picture entirely at this point, which is always good. I get Cloysters on the field, and I could have used Pursuit, if I was expecting the switch out. The thing is, just in case he would try to wake up and go for serve, I decided to Rockslide because Rockslide killed the cloister, and I didn't want Pursuit wouldn't kill if he didn't switch out, so I went with Rockslide. Also, it was a very safe move in general because it doesn't have any good Rockslide target. He only has Raikou, and that's what he went to. As you can see, it takes 35 plus spike, so the Raikou is getting low too. Since he's getting low and he's and 2 Rockslide will kill, I decide to stay in this time. Thunder is a 3 KO, so I don't mind staying in, and as I said earlier, I don't mind playing more recklessly with Tyranitar. So he Hidden Power, I Rockslide. Now the Raikou is forced to rest. And it showed HPIs earlier, so it's HPI, Thunder, Rest, and the last move could be Sleep Toad, but he has no Pseudo Aether at this point. The Pokemon is raw, and almost every GSC team need ones to keep in check the like of Cursolax or Vaporeon. Well, in this case, yes, Executor or Zapdos, but every team need a Phaser, in my opinion. So it probably is raw, which means if I put it to sleep, it's another Pokemon to abuse like Snorlax. Also, one last thing that I'll mention is that yeah, raw was more likely because raw Raikou is just so good, you don't really want to pass up on it when you have spikes alongside it. So this time, since I'm expecting the raw, I go Nidoking. Anyway, I was like, it's a pretty safe move because if he, I was expecting the rest, sorry. If he decides to Thunder, I switch Nidoking on Thunder and I'm out of HPI's range thanks to the leftovers. And if he rests, I have Nidoking on Raikou, and Nidoking is also looking really threatening to his team at this point of the game. So I went with Ice Beam, and honestly, I was just expecting Executor because he couldn't switch Snorlax on Earthquake. With the Spike, as you can see, it would have been a 2 KO. So I expected him to go Executor instead, and I went for the aggressive play with Ice Beam, but he went Snorlax, and now he gets to rest. I could have fished for a crit, I guess, but I prefer to go Tyranitar and instead put more damages on Snorlax as it has to sleeps 2 turns instead of 1 if I was trying to fish for a crit earlier. So I get some damages from Rockslide. In the meantime, as you can see, no spikes on my side is really full. I get so much leftovers recovery on my Pokemon, and I'm really not pressured in my switch out. He wakes up and directly go for Curse as I rolled. Rolled pretty safe because the Snorlax is already at 58, which means if it doesn't rest, it can switch on Earthquake from Nidoking, and if it does, it has to sleep 2 turns anyway. So Raw brings in Executor. I go to Zapdos because I'm expecting Sleep Powder. I don't want to, like, at this point the Executor has too much health. Fire Blast won't do enough, so I just take the Sleep with Zapdos because it has a Sleep Talk anyway. A Sleep Talk Hidden Power does a nice chunk. He goes Psychic. At this point I need to roll Rest to keep checking the Executor, and I know he isn't gonna Giga Drain in this situation, so I go back to Tyranitar because since the Executor is at 65, it's in a really threatening range from Fire Blast and Pursuit. Instead, he doubles to Raikou, fine by me. I decide to get some damages on it with Tyranitar. I don't remember why I didn't Rockslide here. The reason why I think is that nothing was safe from Tyranitar here. Like, if I get Gengar, I kill it. If I get Cloyster, I get a free Rockslide. Same from Snorlax. If I get Executor, Fire Blast will kill, and I can force a Mind Game with Pursuit too. And whatever I get on the field is forced out by Tyranitar, and he has to go back on Raikou as I will Rockslide, which is fine by me. I get Gengar, and this time I can remove completely Gengar from the game, which means Snorlax. Well, all of Snorlax, both Snorlax and Machamp are really solid. I should win from this point, unless some Snorlax shenanigan. So same thought process that earlier against Snorlax when it was at mid. I decide to roar because it's in it doesn't have an else house to keep Nidoking in check, and if he rests, it will have to burn two sleep turns. So I roar and got Executor. Since he got a paralysis from a body slam, I don't really like I just went back one turn, by the way. I don't really like staying in front of Executor, especially if he has Giga Drain. So I go Snorlax instead because I don't have to fear much from Executor besides booming. Also, if he booms with Executor, Machamp should win the game at this point because, like right now, Machamp is already good because HP Bug kills the Executor, but it has to win a speed tie. And that's annoying. So, if I can remove Executor from the game, I have free Crush Up to win. And he goes boom. I do Snorlax, bit annoying because Snorlax really look good, but I'm confident Machamp and Nidoking will win at this point. As you can see, he can't switch, he can't pivot on Nidoking anymore with Executor to take Earthquakes. So I go directly Nidoking. Maybe should have gone with Machamp, but I was expecting Raikou. So that's why I went with Nidoking. I go Tyranitar. In retrospect, I maybe should have gone Machamp, but I was kind of fearing the possibility of him staying in and fishing for a paralysis with Body Slam, and I didn't want Machamp to get to switch on a Body Slam as I get paralyzed. So I go to Tyranitar instead. He rests. Now I know he has to burn 2 turns, and I go to Machamp now because I get a free Crush Up. He goes Raikou, switches on the Crush Up, almost dead. Once again, I could stay in and go for the kill, but I don't want to get paralyzed. I don't want the Snorlax to attempt a comeback. Actually, when you think about it, Machamp being paralyzed could allow Snorlax to try a comeback, although it would have to predict the explosion from Cloyster. But I really want to secure the victory, so I go Nidoking instead because free Earthquake at this point. He goes Snorlax. And despite everything I just said, I decided I'd go back to Machamp now because it still have 1 turn to sleep, and Crush Up will almost kill it. If it doesn't kill it, it has to rest at this point, so I can still spam Crush Up. He Body Slam, probably try to get the paralysis and attempt to come back through full paralysis, but it doesn't get the power, which means the game is over. HP Bug is safe, I get the kill. Raikou is in HP Bug range 2. If it rests, Crush Up will take care of it, so will Nidoking. So I stay in. Nidoking win at this point anyway. HP Ice finishes off the Raikou, and then Cloyster isn't doing anything. And that's how the game ends. And that's it, guys. I hope it wasn't too I hope I wasn't too confused, I guess, because it was my first time writing a GSC game. I hope you got everything, but yeah, the team worked out exactly as expected. Then Nidoking got to surprise the Zapdos earlier, giving me a lot of breathing room, since I got the Earthquake switch out of the way. Then I managed to pursue the Gengar with Tyranitar, and at this point Snorlax and Machamp were both looking really good, and together they gave me the win. So yeah, another win felt great, and we'll finish the video. As usual, feel free to give me any sort of feedback, and until next time, see ya for the last game of the SPL regular season.